Sounded good.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm Liz Trotter. Our guest today is Libby DeLucian, and this is Smart Business Moves.
Woohoo! Hey, Tom,
Hey.
great pronunciation of Libby's name.
Yeah.
Well, I practice.
That was spot on. I liked
I
it.
practice. I've been working on that all day.
Might be a little bit of an exaggeration here.
Right.
Okay, so Tom, how is my sound today? I
Uh,
know I've been trying to deal with the sound issue.
so far so good. So
All
far
right.
so good.
All right, let's see. I got a new camera that is, I see a little funky. I got a little green halo going on here. So,
It might be contrasting with your red hair.
oh my gosh. We don't even want to talk about my crazy hair. I just can't even with this crazy hair. All right. Well, we're talking about hiring, I know, with you, Libby. But Tom, I was curious, what is going on with Maid Central? Is there any kind of big news going on? Any announcements?
That's a softball, so I should have an answer for that. We're doing a lot of cool stuff. We're doing another MCA Live event in August, along with some other really, talented people and industry trade association. Gosha and RJ are going to be here. We're going to be doing all of this is like in 1 week in August, the third week in August, right? What is that? The 21st?
That's awesome. I'm with Gosha and RJ today.
Oh my gosh, I love being with those people.
Yeah.
They're fun. I hung out with them last week at in St. Louis.
Yes.
We're going to do an artsy event on Monday. We're going to do an Maid Central Academy Live on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Liz, you're going to be here with all your folks, and you guys are doing a workshop the end of that week, right?
We are. We're going to be doing the employee life cycle Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So,
Wow, that sounds like a eventful week.
No kidding, right? It's going to be good. Good week.
You need to come up, Libby. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, I'll probably try to make it for at least the artsy event at the beginning. I've been traveling so much. I'm trying to stay home just a little bit more.
Oh my gosh, you have been gone a lot.
So
based on Facebook, though, it's not working very well.
It's not. No, I'm in Chicago right now at Rosaldo's Cleaning Services. I was spending the day with them.
Oh, fun.
It's fun. They're a huge company, learning lots. But based off what Yaya said, my daughter, she asked my husband if I was ever coming home.
Oh.
So I'm like, I think I need to stop traveling just a little bit when your 5-year-old is like, is mommy ever coming back?
Yeah, that hurts your heart a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah. It's a little tough. How long have you been gone?
Well, I only flew up here for the day. I left early this morning. We're spending all day here. We're talking commercial cleaning, hiring, and then we're going to do some stuff tomorrow, and then I fly home. So it's a short trip.
Okay, that's good. So mommy is coming home. Yes.
I am coming home. But then I leave in like 3 days for QDS.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. When is that? That's is that
it's
next
week? It's next week, yeah.
Mm-hmm. My goodness, that's busy.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way. I'm going to a mastermind event Friday, and then I come back in time to do the Darren Hardy business masterclass. So you got to lock down for that for, I think, 3 days.
Oh, there's a lot of people doing that.
Yeah. And then there's like 3 days until I go to Vegas for a week. So I'm like, I feel like, oh man.
So Liz, if you win in Vegas, you can split some of it with me, okay?
Oh, sure. Send me some money and I'll happily play for you.
I'll send you $10 and give you a number to pick on the roulette table.
I'll do it. I have won money for people. A lot of times I haven't done this recently because I'm not at American Made anymore. But when I was, I would tell them that I'm going to bet $10 for them. What kind of machine do they want me to play on? What do they want me to look for? And I did win $1,100 for somebody once.
Wow.
Yeah. That was
Did
awesome.
you get a commission?
I didn't think about a commission. No. I got the fun of playing. That was my commission, right? Oh, all right, y'all. So hiring, we got to talk about this because evergreen topic. People never get sick of hearing this. And I was just talking to somebody on a one-on-one coaching call that she's frustrated. She's like, I keep hearing everybody say that they're not having employee problems right now, but Liz, I'm struggling. Like people aren't applying here. What's going on? What am I doing wrong? How can you help us out, Libby?
Well, I would tell her that that's not true. A lot of people are still struggling to hire. So I feel that there's a lot of things going on. I feel it is easier to get some applicants, right? To get some people to show up to interviews. I do feel that has eased up. But what I feel a lot of people are still struggling in is the retention part, is keeping them for more than, 10 days or 2 weeks or the 30 days. We're still in that, quitting stage, that the great resignation, they call it. And that to me is getting worse, is kind of that they're coming in, we can kind of find them, but they're going out the back door now even faster. I feel like there's a lot of stuff contributing to that. I feel like we've had a shift in society since COVID where people just want a little bit of money, but they want freedom and the ability to control their time.
Oh, yeah.
And we see that with a lot of the apps that are coming out. If you used to drive for Uber or even have looked at that, like these apps have upped their games and benefits that they offer, incentives, how they're paid out. Literally, when I was traveling, I was at CBF Live and I was in my motel room and I was listening to music and a commercial came on for DoorDash. And my husband was with me in the hotel room and it says, be your own boss, work when you want, report to nobody, turn it off and on, have time freedom, flexibility, and cash out instantly. Don't need a car. You can scooter and bike and walk to your dash, like the food.
All right.
So,
if you can run, I mean,
and so I listened to that commercial and I looked over at Chris, and this comes from being an owner of a cleaning company. I looked over at Chris and I said, how am I supposed to compete with that?
Yeah.
They said cash out instantly, work for a couple hours, pay for dinner instantly. And not that all of our cleaning technicians would, fit that demographic of wanting to work for DoorDash, but it sure sounded great. I was like, well, I could work for a couple hours right now and pay for dinner. And it was so it was so enlightening to hear that, I thought to myself and I said to my husband, I'm like, how's Organize.It going to even compete with that? And I said, that just made me, even more realize that we need to up our game. Like, what are we doing? What are we offering? Like, why is someone going to apply at my cleaning company versus like Maid Pro or Molly Maids?
Or DoorDash.
Why?
Why work for a cleaning company if you can work for DoorDash? So you're seeing these new app companies as being a much larger competitor than in the past.
They're just attractive. I think that the side hustle is more popular now than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. Right? You can go online and make some bucks working remotely. You can do this, and so the side hustle right now is really popular because it lets you control your time. And people are not super concerned about money right now.
And not as much about like that long-term money savings, right? That's been shrinking. People are just wanting enough money right now. More, they want time. They want to be able to earn the money and not have to work. We hear that a lot more than we've ever heard in the past, right? People have always said that. I want to earn a paycheck and I don't want to have to work.
Mm-hmm.
Are people still living off of COVID money? I mean, is that still a thing? Or?
Well, I mean, would you really think that our target market for cleaning technicians would have a lot of COVID money left? I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't either. So it's. I mean, I see it, but it's hard to figure out how people wouldn't be concerned about at least enough money for food and shelter. And
So I think that the side hustle is really popular. People like to control their time. And I think you have to really, to attract people and to keep them, you really have to up your game. Organize it, implemented unlimited approved time off, right? Liz, you're a fan of this.
I am.
And it was a total game changer for us as far as retention and attraction. And so everybody's like, so you hire part-time? No. And there's rules, there's rules around it, but I wanted to give them as much as I could. And it really helped our retention rate. We've made some other changes, but you have to think to yourself, why are they going to come work for me? Why? Like at the core, what makes you different? What are your core competencies that make you stand out versus your competitors?
But you've observed that it's gotten a little bit easier to recruit and hire someone, but it's gotten harder to
Keep
them for that initial few weeks. And as far as, it's a 9 to 5 job, you need to show, it's not like driving for Uber. I presume that they would understand that before applying for the job, and certainly they would understand it as part of the interview process. So, I mean, I see it. I can't explain it though. Maybe you would have some ideas as to why people would be taking the job and say, God, they really want me to come to work 5 days a week, or it really matters if I show up on time. What's that about?
Well, I think that it's not just that, as far as it's super competitive out there. I think it's I did a presentation the other day that says we are in a talent war. Like we are in a talent war right now. And war isn't about who's wrong or right. War is about like who's the last person standing. And so we're in a talent war. So when people come to a job, that market out there, if you're an applicant, is super competitive. So what does your culture look like? Is what you said on your job ad true? And when they get there and a week later, those core values were just listed on a piece of paper, but you don't embody them. They're going to see that in a week and they're going to go somewhere else.
Right.
Because they know they can get a job. If you didn't live up to your pay expectations, your culture, your benefits, if your company was disorganized, it is so competitive right now that I feel that we are in a talent war. And that you cannot do business the old way. You have to change the way you do business.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest cultures I've ever seen is in the office I'm literally sitting in right now, is at this Rizaldo's cleaning services. He has created a movement in Chicago when it comes to culture. And I'm like, can we just, I wanted to just come learn from him. So it's one of those things where the people have to want to stay.
Yeah.
And I don't think sometimes money's great, but is it always all about money? Are you living up to the expectations that you've put out there in that job ad? Because if you're not, they're going to see through that in a matter of 3 to 5 to 10 days, and they know they can get a job somewhere else. So when people say nobody wants,
different.
It's a big difference.
People don't talk a lot about that, but that is a big difference. Before, people were afraid to leave a job because they were afraid, will I be able to get another one? What if I can't get another one? What will I do? Now there is, like you said, there is that safety net of Uber, DoorDash, right? There's a safety net there. So I know I can get a job, but if I can't, I'll be okay because I can still do this thing.
So technically, there are actually more jobs than there are people. Yeah. There are, if you look on Indeed, like the stats, there are more positions posted than there are people looking for jobs.
Yeah.
So they're always, so it goes back to like baby shortfalls. I don't know if you guys have read up on the baby shortfalls, right? We have too many people aging out, not enough people aging in. So if you look at it like that, and the baby shortfalls research shows we're going to be in this epidemic for 10 years. Yeah. Minimum, the next 10 years, we're going to have a shortage of people. So there's
that is awesome, right? Because anything that lasts for a long time like that gives us so much opportunity. All we have to do is figure out the new paradigm and how to work it and then work it. And we have a long time to be able to use that. It's harder when it keeps shifting and changing. Nothing to do.
So you know what this does for me? This makes me excited and I kind of like it. You know why? Because for me to attract and retain people, all I have to do is be different.
Mm.
Oh,
I'm not sure
Right?
about that. I probably
No.
have to push back on that just a little.
I have to be different. That means
That's
I,
not cool.
be different in a good way.
yeah, different in a good way.
A certain kind of different.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I just have to be different. I can't operate like every other cleaning company, like every other service company. I have to be extra. We have to be innovative. We have to be big thinkers. We have to offer outside the box benefits, right?
Yeah.
We have
So
to be different.
I'm going to go on record here again saying that I really don't think anything has changed in this way. What people want in a job has not changed. The thing that makes the job sticky, that hasn't changed. It was never about money. It never was. And guess what? It isn't now either. It was always about the same four things, and it still is today. And actually, the problem is it is more these things, and people will not tolerate not getting these things anymore. So in the past, if you didn't respect your employees and you didn't treat them with respect, they would tolerate it. They would tolerate a lot of things in the past they won't tolerate anymore. So I'm going to hit on my same four. Got to do it. Y'all know. But people need to feel like they matter, period. They won't stay at a job if they don't feel like they matter in that job. They're not going to. They don't have to, because they'll go somewhere else and somebody else is going to make them
And
feel like
Liz, that's the difference now. They don't have to.
they don't have to. And they're not afraid anymore. They're willing to stand up and say, I deserve this now. Are they entitled? They're entitled in a different way. And I'm not going to say they, I'm going to say we. We are entitled in a different way because we all have the same feeling that we should matter. And
So
that
when you say that, explain that just so everybody understands. What does that, do I matter? I mean, what does that mean?
what that means is that people feel like that my individual human being, who I am as a person, the things that I bring to the table, those are important things. That people see value in me, myself, my person as a human being, not as a number, not as a check mark, but as all of the things about me are valuable. So if people feel like they matter in that way, that they personally are valuable, that's the first thing. I feel stickier toward that job. You think about that in any relationship that you have. If your person, husband, wife, boyfriend, whoever the person is, when you feel like you matter to them, that's gold, right? And that's what we're looking for. The minute you're most upset about your person is when they're treating you like you don't matter anymore. Like you don't matter. They don't care. You're just any person could fill your spot. You're not happy in that relationship, any relationship, friendships, anything, right? That's why we like our dogs. Dogs think we matter. Dogs think we're the best things ever. More so than that.
I want to hit on that.
Yeah.
You said the we. And so, owning WootRecruit, we do a bunch of inside teaching. We have like a whole LMS built out. We do calls every month where we're teaching people how to interview, what's proper, what's legal, questions, like how to set up your office. Like that's my mission inside of WootRecruit, is to really get you to fall in love with that recruiting process, because everybody hates it like taxes. So yeah. So when you said, what I find a lot of owners do is that they think that what they want is different than what an applicant or an employee is looking for in life, right? And ultimately, they want more flexibility or time freedom, and they want to be heard just like the owners. But the applicants want the same thing, but they're still stuck in this mindset where I just pay you, show up, do the job because that's what you're supposed to do. That old way is not going to work, and you have to change or you will be left behind. And when people say, well, no one wants to work, I said, no one, this sounds horrible, but no, is it that no one wants to work, or is it no one wants to work for you?
Yeah.
It's got to be a lot more than just a financial transaction.
Yeah.
It does, because they have choices now.
They do have much bigger. Okay, so I got to go back to my going to choices made me think of my second thing on my list, right? There needs to be some kind of meaning in the work that I'm doing. And I'm not just going to stay at a dead end job if I have even the slightest bit of respect for myself. I want to feel good about who I am and what I'm doing. And I want to feel like, especially the people nowadays, the younger generation, they want to do work that has meaning. I mean, this has been going on for a while, but right, there's a reason why so many companies are jumping on this bandwagon. But that's not going away. That's getting more. People feel more like they want to do something that makes them feel intrinsically like a good human being, not because of who they are, because we already dealt with that with matter, right? But of what they're doing. That I'm putting good out there into the world. I'm a good person. We're seeing a lot more of that too. That hasn't changed. It's just more. We're seeing it more, and people are coming into it more. So we can't pass up that meaning piece there.
And it's maybe it was like a nice to have, but it's really like more of a requirement.
Absolutely. And actually, it was always a requirement if you wanted to really nail this part of the job, right? If you wanted people to love to stay with you, if you wanted people to be really so sticky that they couldn't leave, it was a requirement. But most people weren't into that. I heard somebody just yesterday, you guys, I was so freaked out. Somebody was saying that in their area, they don't really have to worry about retention stuff because there's so many applicants. They can just, y'all, how old is this phrase? They could just churn and burn through people.
Oh, yes. I just used that phrase the other day, churn and burn.
What? Somebody just said that as a strategy.
No.
Like, that's a strategy. Like, I can just bring them in, get some work out of them, get some work, and then get them out and get new ones in. I was like, wow.
No.
And okay, but it's interesting. I was like, okay, talk to me about this. Tell me more about it. And here was her thinking. She's like, everybody out there knows there's another job out there. There's nobody is sticking in any jobs unless they're amazing. And they think every job's not amazing. So nobody wants to work, but they have to. Why not here? They'll come work here for 2 weeks and then they're gone and they'll go work somewhere else. But there's always somebody else looking to come here and hang out for 2 weeks. I was like, well, alrighty then. How old school is that phrase? That thing?
That's a horrible way of thinking, because you have to think about quality reviews, profit. Like, it's going to hurt your profit because you're going to have to constantly train and recruit.
Or not, apparently. Or not train, right? Just here's some stuff. Go do your best. I don't know. It's not my way of running things, and well, it remains to be seen. This has been her strategy now for 3 months, not a long time, and she's thinking that it's a pretty good strategy
Until something goes wrong.
How have so many things not already gone wrong?
Well, you never know. You never know. It could have. She just doesn't know yet, maybe.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And there are things that are going wrong behind the scenes, right? It's impossible for me to believe that all of her customers are thrilled with her cleaning service. And just like employees are ready to bounce at the drop of a hat, customers are getting more ready to bounce than ever before. In the past, our customers were way more loyal as well.
Yeah. And during COVID, they were falling in our lap.
Oh my gosh. And throwing money at us, right? You don't even have to clean. Here, I'll pay you anyway.
Yes.
Right?
That has changed as well.
That has changed. Yes, that has also changed. All right, so that's my two, my matter, my meaning. I got to hit the other two real quick here. Measure, that has always been the same. People need to know where they stack up. They have to be able to see where to go, where they're going. So you got to have that job ladder, y'all. If you don't have one, you need to have one. And people need to be able to know whether or not I'm doing well, because a lot of times in a job, they don't know how to evaluate themselves if I'm doing well or not. They don't know. So they need a measure. And that measure can be almost anything that people can hold on to make them feel like they're doing a good job. Could be your quality score. Could be how many towels you lose. Could be, did something happen, Tom?
Yeah, we're good. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Did I disappear?
I know I heard you grunt though.
You were talking.
Yeah, I was just talking to myself. My screen went crazy for a minute.
Oh, you look fine to us.
Okay.
Yeah. Except that you didn't have this lovely green halo that I have.
Well, that's something to aspire to, maybe.
Or not.
Yeah.
And then I just got to hit my last one real quick, because I think this one is the one that people are noticing more than ever before. More than ever before, people are really, really recognizing that people today want autonomy. They not want, they insist on having some autonomy in their work, that they will not be pegs. They will not be automatons. They will not. They will bring their best selves to the job, and they will insist on doing some things their way. And you even spoke to this when you were talking about, Libby, when you were talking about the advertisement that you heard. How much of that advertisement was about autonomy, right? Nobody looking over your shoulders, nobody telling you what to do. It's huge now. It's always been a thing, but now it's bigger.
It is. This is off the topic, but on the topic, I just finished writing the vivid vision for WootRecruit and Organize It. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Vivid Visions.
I haven't.
Oh, okay.
But I'm dying.
So I just finished writing them, and it was a life-changing experience for me. I have to say that it took me a month to do it. They're 16 pages, about 16 to 18 pages long. And the reason I bring it up is because they're really good for recruiting and retention, because inside of your vivid vision, you're talking about, if I was to wake up, I'm waking up 3 years from today. And what does the company look like? How does the company run? What does it feel like? Where can we be found? Where will we be in the media? And so you use this to attract and retain your employees. You can also publicly, I'm going to publish mine very soon. Outwardly, we're going to announce them on Friday inwardly to WootRecruit, and then next week we're going to announce it inside Organize It. But your vivid visions, and in my vivid vision, when I was writing it, one of the core things that I wanted that was very important to me was autonomy in asynchronous management. But that scares a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Especially a lot of people,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That scares a lot of people. But, I rolled it out to our leadership already. They've seen it and they reviewed it and they loved it. Like literally were going to cry when they read this vision.
That's meaning. That's meaning.
Yeah.
You're bringing meaning to the job. Absolutely. People love it. I'm so excited.
But if you have never heard of one, because when people say, I can't find anybody, there's no good people out there, my first question is going to be like, well, what are you looking for? And so many of us owners, me being one, guilty of it, we don't even know what tomorrow looks like. We don't even know what tomorrow looks like. We're just trying to get through day to day. But how can we get employees to jump on that bandwagon? And so sitting down and really figuring out what you want, what your company's supposed to look like, creating those career ladders, right? Like Liz said, gives people a reason to stay. So I have somewhere to go.
You mentioned the term asynchronous management. That sounds pretty cool. Explain what that is.
So asynchronous management, it's really coming from the software industry, but we already do it and organize it. I was doing it and organize it and didn't even realize it until I really was in the software world, and we're working in there. And asynchronous management just means you're kind of always have a hub where it's always on. We record everything. We're very open, transparency, but people can go and digest their training when they want. They can go, and if they're interested in what we covered in the company L10, they can go and watch that recording. So it's that asynchronous management where everybody sees everybody else's scores, right? In QDS, they have access to that. It's having an open platform that's always on, a hub, but also everything's recorded or captured so that they can go reference it at their leisure or their time. We don't care when they do it, because I don't micromanage. I'm more about the output versus how it gets done.
Sure.
So that's really asynchronous. It's about they can, they have the ability to access what they want at their fingertips, and they can digest the content at any time. It's
the autonomy, I guess, is an example of how you can make that happen.
Yes. And so that scares a lot of people.
Explain that. Well, it seems like it sounds pretty awesome, but I guess not everybody wants that.
Well, as business owners, we get scared of it, right? We need to do more things.
It scares the business owners, not so much the people working for them.
The people working for us want it, because then they feel a part of the company. There's transparency. You build trust by doing this. But it scares a lot of the owners because they're very fearful of just even saying something like having more one-to-ones. I've had so many people tell me they don't want to do them because they're scared people are going to ask for a raise, or they're scared that they're going to complain about something. So then they just don't do them. These little things scare us owners into just not doing them. And so having the idea of like our interviews are recorded, right? Our meetings are recorded. Our one-to-ones are even recorded. And that if someone wants to watch them, great. Now, if we need to have a private conversation, that's different, because that's HR, right? Those are private. If we're writing someone up, those aren't recorded or put into the hub. But we want to be as transparent as possible, because I need everybody on this ship with me if I'm going to sail it to the end of the earth.
So the one-on-ones, like when management is having a one-on-one with a cleaning professional, that's recorded, and other people in the organization can watch that? Essentially,
yes.
Wow. Okay.
Because the one-on-one is just like, hey, how are you doing? How can we make your job better? How are you feeling? How's your workload? Is there anything we can do to help? Right? It's not a performance review.
I gotcha. Do you find that, do you have a way of measuring how many people are watching some of this recorded material?
It depends on where you build that hub out in, right? You have, like, if you're going to build it out somewhere in like monday.com, you can see who's logged in, how long people were logged in for. If you're going to build it in something like Google Drive or Workspace, you're not going to really have that ability. So it depends on where you have that hub at. But we've been doing this and organize it forever, because I've been out of the business, but I have everything recorded, and that's how I train or teach or send messages to people. And it's all inside of a hub. And so it's worked really well for us there. And we were doing it without even knowing, but we've captured what that means and how that helps people grow. And it also builds a lot of trust in within your company that you need for people to stay.
Wow. That is pretty cool. I would have, I'm not aware of anybody who's, I'm sure it's out there. You've been traveling around, you're seeing a lot. this is pretty unique stuff though, isn't it?
And so when I said the only thing I have to do is be different to attract and keep people, these are the ideas, right? We want, like Liz said, the commercial was all about autonomy. People crave it. So how can we do that inside our cleaning companies? Because our cleaning companies at the core, when we think about it, are run very traditionally, right? Mm-hmm. You go, you do the job, you get paid, you go home. Like, what can we do to shake it up? What can we do to be different? What can we do?
Trust is a big thing too, Libby. Mm-hmm. That, and building that trust and transparency really does build trust faster than almost anything else.
It
Not any,
does.
but almost anything else, right? Transparency is huge for building trust. So I can see how I'm churning in my brain some of the conversations like this. I have to have a conversation with. There's no Libby, you didn't do anything wrong. As the housekeeper, Mrs. Johnson was saying that the floors weren't done well. Tell me about that. Talk to me about the floors. What happened there? How can we get better outcomes next time? What do you got? I can see how that being recorded for everyone to see would be a very, very valuable resource. Easy to have those conversations now, easy for people when, especially as a company that is now remote, right? Because when you're all together in one room, you can have those conversations. Everybody can see them, and they can get the message very quickly that we are about being helpful and supportive and talking through problems, not as failures or your failure, but just as things that we need to work on and get better. But that's harder when you're remote or solos, etc. But this kind of changes that up. This makes
Well, that's why we had started it. I've built mine out. It's been 2 years since I built it out. And, when I started building it, it was because I didn't make our technicians come to the office on a particular day. They didn't have to come every week. They could come when they wanted. They had a door code. And as we grew, it's like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't give a door code to everybody yet. But as we grew, it's like how we don't see each other. Like, how do I build that trust? How does that happen? And so that's when we started to record everything and really capture it and store it all in one place. We have everything in there from training videos to like, hey, here's a tip on nutrition because you're going to work all day, to how they calculate their pay, to we have a whole company calendar so they can see where Lisa's off today or Susie's off. That way, because that's how we manage the unlimited approved time off.
And where do you house all of your videos and all of your stuff, Libby?
So I built mine out on the back end of my website.
Okay.
Mine's built out, but you can use anything like Trello. You can use Trello. It's free. You can use Asana. You can use ClickUp, I think, because you have to remember your staff has to be able to log into it. Right.
Yeah.
As in your cleaning technicians have to be able to log into it.
Maid Central, that would be an easy place, Tom. I mean, not to give you another softball there, but I mean, I know a lot of people house their manuals.
They get access that inside of the employee portal. But the overarching, I guess, part of the theme anyway, Libby, is that technology is giving us an opportunity to differentiate ourselves and kind of do some unique stuff. And you've shared some ideas, and what the heck? There's a theme that we're starting to pick up on a little bit in Smart Business Moves. It's like, well, where's this going, especially with the changes in technology and artificial intelligence? And do you have any thoughts as to what this might look like 6 months from now, a year from now? What
on the recruiting side or on the
or just the differentiate? Yeah, you can take that wherever you want to go with it. I'm certainly on the recruiting side, but I guess before we get to that, just making yourself different. What can you use some of these new tools with to kind of like recording the one-on-ones and sharing it with your group? The asynchronous management. I mean, as technology evolves, you could probably do more and more with that, couldn't you?
You can. And, at the end of the day, all that is doing is showing our trust and transparency. That's all we're doing at the end of the day. We're showing that we care so much that we want them to have everything at the tip of their fingers, just like what Liz said earlier. That's all that does. That builds trust through our transparency. And I think that you can do a tremendous amount of things. You have to remember that with technology, I think that people don't necessarily want to do a lot of things at the office. They want to be home more. Right. And how can we let them be home more? This is one of the ways that we can do that. And so use technology, because one of the things that you have to do to have a successful business, right? You have to have adaptability, flexibility, and speed. And if you can't, business has changed. And for the people that they're not adapting, they're not flexible, and they don't have speed in what they do, those are the ones that are feeling this really tough market right now, whether it comes to leads or whether it comes to applicants. But you can use technology to create these processes that really make you much more efficient. They save time. They help your staff feel more included. Because if we didn't have these, our technicians would have no idea what's going on. And they don't have to go look at it. They can look at it if they want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We
So-
have a question here too, or not really a question, but a statement. And because of what you do, Libby, I'm guessing it's like she would love to have your insight into this.
Oh, I can't even get people to show up to the interview.
Yeah.
So there's a few contributing factors to that. There's actually a lot. So one, go on Indeed and look at your ad. Like, look at your ad compared. I talk with my hands and I'm like, I'm in a small screen. Go on Indeed and look at your ad. Like, what do you look like compared to the competition? Do I just look like everybody else? Look at that. 89% of applicants will go and vet you before they go to the interview. They'll vet you. Go look at your brand, which is your social media pages. Look at your website. Also, there's a few things to consider, as in, where's your office located when it comes to where your applicants are coming from. Like, if all of my applicants live in a city that's 30 minutes away, but my office is in my service area, that's going to affect your show rate, because that's a bigger commitment, right? I guarantee that if you go to them, you'll have a higher show rate. Also, how many days are you allowing to put between the interview? Like, if you want to interview somebody, it's tomorrow. It's 2 days. The more days you put in between the interview, from the phone call to the interview, the higher the show rate.
Wait a minute.
I mean, the higher the no-show rate. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Thinking
I forgot one word in there. That's the no show rate, not the show rate. So look at those things. Your pay affects show rate, but also culture in your ad. Like, if your ad says, we're the best company in Fort Myers, we're the most organized, right? We're innovative, we're doing all these things. And you go look at my website and it's just a bunch of pictures, stock pictures, no employees on there. It just looks like everybody else. Well, then, you're kind of like,
Not
it didn't really speak to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem true.
Yeah, it doesn't seem true.
People are much more discerning now. They are paying much better attention to whether or not this really looks like a good job.
They have these at their fingertips, right? Which is a great thing, right? It's a great thing, but it's also a bad thing if you're not, if maybe, do you have some bad reviews? They go look at your reviews. What does your Indeed profile look like? What does your Facebook profile look like? What does your website look like? If 89% of people are vetting me before they show up, it could be what they're seeing. Maybe it doesn't speak to them. I'm not saying it's bad, but maybe it doesn't speak to them.
You mentioned the number 89%. Is that?
That came from Glassdoor, Indeed, ZipRecruiter. They did a study. I did not make up that number.
Oh.
That's a high number.
That's a high number.
It's so high that it sounds made up, right? Because you don't normally hear numbers that high.
And they might as well have said 100%.
I know, right? That's like crazy high.
That they will do a form of vetting before they show up to the interview, whether that's looking at your Indeed, right? They'll look at your social media or your website. They will look you up.
And the 11% that aren't doing that, that's probably not a really good sign that they're going to be awesome employees either.
Right?
No.
Those are the people you probably don't want working for you. So it's like, darn.
So you have to also have something that is really attractive to them. So we send a welcome, like we can't wait to see you at the interview video before the interview. There's this really good book called The Power of Moments, and it talks about John Deere Green's onboarding, and they had an issue with onboarding. They couldn't get people to show up for it. So I took some of the ideas and I incorporated it into the interview, because they said there's 3 determining factors what causes people to not show up to the first day of a job. And I said, well, if that's contributing to that, it's going to contribute to them showing up to the interview. And so it was environmental, new place, social, new people, and intellectual, new information. Those three factors contribute to the anxiety or stress that contributes to no-shows for the first day. So I said, if we can alleviate those, we could have a higher show rate. So I've done a welcome to the interview, like we can't wait to meet you video. It's the same video. They just sent it out. They send it out. And it's just me introducing myself, standing outside the road saying, hey, this is Organizer. We're on the corner of Cypress Lake and McGregor. You're going to see the Walgreens. Here, let me take you into the office. The video is like a minute, shot on my iPhone, very unprofessional. And I just show them the office. You're going to come in and you're going to sign in right here. And you're going to have a seat over here and wait for Lisa to call your name. If they watch the video, we know because they come in and they go straight to the iPad. Right? It's also kind of a test. We know who watched the video and who didn't.
Well, I love that. So tell us, Libby, I love that. So you're sending out this video, you started sending it out. How many people now go straight to the iPad?
I would say that it increased our show rate about 20 to 30%. And just about, I would say 75% of the people go to the iPad. They're like, oh yeah, I saw it on the video. They go in the room because we have books waiting. Like we have the whole office set up.
And what do they do with the iPad?
They just sign in like a doctor's office.
Got it.
It timestamps their arrival because when you start to interview and you have a lot of people, you're going to notice you didn't know what time they actually got there. And I've done studies. That's one of the things I love about having WootRecruit is the data. We have so much data. It's unbelievable. We did a thing on your rockstar employees, A players, whatever you want to call them. They showed up a minimum of 5 minutes early to the interview. Anyone that showed up 5 minutes that within the 5 minutes after that, like say if I'm interviewing at 12 and I showed up at like 11:58 or 59 or even on the hour, they actually didn't stay. They weren't long-term employees. Anyone that showed up 5 minutes or earlier than 5 minutes is a long-term employee or a rock star. So when you have multiple people in the office, it's hard to timestamp when they actually got there so that you can keep collecting this data. So we built it out inside WootRecruit that they can sign in. And, when I first started, actually, I had them sign in with a piece of paper, like at a doctor's office.
Yeah.
But then people weren't being honest with what time it was. Cause you're like, oh, well, my watch says it's 3:57. I'm just going to put, I got here at 4. Right. Mm-hmm. We want to know to the second what time they arrive. So we built that out and that sends that timestamp so we can keep kind of auditing which ones are the ones that are A players, rock stars versus you show up on the hour. Those are the ones that end up showing up late to work.
So if somebody shows up at 2 minutes after, do you interview them?
No, Lisa turns them away.
Okay. So
It's just hey, I have a whole bunch of interviews scheduled. Unfortunately, we've already passed your time. We just need you to reschedule or reapply.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are 1 minute early, you still see them?
Yeah, if they're on time, we still see them.
Even though you don't believe they're going to stay?
No.
So
well, there's still that anomaly, right? There's still that anomaly. We're saying the majority of them. I have the percentages somewhere. I'd have to pull them up.
But you wouldn't disqualify them. You were only 2 minutes early, so we're not hiring you. You're not saying that.
We're tracking the data so that we can keep seeing how like the ones that work out versus the ones that don't. There is a trend with what time they're showing up.
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
So you're home-based, Libby. Oh my gosh, yeah. So when I first started, I can tell you the story about how I started WootRecruit, guys. So I started organizing and I got this grand idea that I would open a cleaning company to make money without working because it was going to be so easy. And I knew nothing about cleaning at all. Never had a cleaner, nothing at all. So I said, okay, I'm going to clean for the first year. And right when I started the cleaning company, like 2 or 3 months after, I got pregnant with Yaya. And it was a great surprise, but it was like bad timing because the cleaning company was doing great. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I was trying to hire and scrub toilets all day while pregnant. And I would manually look at Indeed. I would set up interviews and I do all this work, change my clothes in the car, right? And run to a Starbucks, all for no one to just show up. And I said, this is like insanity. I said, there's got to be an easier way. So I made up the process and then I automated it. And that's what we use WootRecruit now. It turned into that. But I remember, Tina, many times having to clean houses all day, scrub toilets, change my clothes in the car in Fort Myers when it's 100 degrees outside, all sweaty, to go and interview at Starbucks. I suggest that, and that is the only way I got myself out of the field, right? Is it going to be hard? Yes, it's going to be super hard. It's going to suck. You're going to have struggles, but there is like light on the other side of that, tunnel. So I suggest, hit it hard, find a place where you can interview. Don't ask permission. Starbucks doesn't care if you're sitting there every day at 4:00. They don't care. Find a nice coffee shop, a Starbucks, interview somewhere close to your home or where your applicants live. And stack them. Say, I'm going to do them every day at 4:00. Book as many as you can in that slot. Who cares how many show up?
If people show up, that's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win when they show up. All right. So not at your house, Tina. That is the official recommendation from Libby. Find another place. Starbucks has been proved by a lot of people to be a good place
So
to do interviews.
the one thing I want to say about that is COVID. I hate using the word COVID. COVID changed people's perspectives of doing business remotely, right?
Yeah.
They changed that's not looked down upon anymore. So to be a home base, like say we're 100% remote, you don't have to say home base. We're a remote business.
Yeah.
That is actually normal now.
Right.
Oh, you could do your interviews through Zoom or some other.
Well, the Zoom has a higher no-show rate
Why is that?
because to me, the technology, there's a little bit less commitment versus, I have an appointment, I'm going to get in my car and drive. Zoom may sound easier, but with Zoom, it's harder to also stack them. Like say I book 5 in one Zoom appointment. What happens when all 5 show up?
Right.
But in person, I can just talk to all 5 at one time, or I can just do a quick talk to each one of them. With Zoom, you can do Zoom, but I don't know that many people that have a lot of success with Zoom. If you don't need a high flow, like if you don't need a lot of people, you could do Zoom to try. But I think that technology, people don't like to be on camera. We're used to it because we're business owners, but that's not the norm when it comes to our demographic when we're hiring for cleaning technicians. They're more used to going in front of people. Now, if you're hiring a salesperson or someone like that, Zoom, yes, they're used to it. Absolutely. Because we got to kind of conform to what they're used to, what they're comfortable with.
And more their expectation,
Mm-hmm.
right? What they're expecting and what they are going to be comfortable doing because it feels normal. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the Zoom, I feel like, is adding another factor to that fear or uncomfortableness. Because how many people have we ever heard say, oh, like, I hate being on camera, I don't like it, but they're okay talking to someone face to face.
Yeah.
Now, I do know that people that have a strong lead flow I know quite a few people in my circles that have strong lead flow that have much better luck with the Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting more people, but they have a strong lead flow. So they can afford to do it. What I'm hearing is that the close rate is much better, that people that they close on Zoom, that they stick and they show up for that first day and continue showing up. Now, I know that there's a lot of different things that companies do that change that, though.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get people to show up? So I'll just give a quick thing. I mentioned this before on Smart Business Moves, but and in the circles, not very often though. One thing that we have a lot of people doing that's working really well to get people to show up to the Zoom interview is to send out, along with the time when you want them to show up and where they get to choose their time, send a little tiny survey, 3 to 5 questions about them personally. Have them tell you a little something about them. Do they like dogs or cats more? Something that is just very, very easy, simple, but personal, so that they can see like, oh, that's weird. And it's a curiosity that you would care about these things about them, because don't forget, matters. People want to feel like they matter. So if you bring them onto your call, and the first thing that you talk about are those 3 to 5 questions that are of things that are important to them, that are light and not just straight to business, you can get a few more people showing up.
I think they're going to remember you more too, because it's odd. So they're going to remember that interview. It's like why people set appointments at like 7:59. I'm like, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
But it's because so that you remember the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and it goes to exactly what you were saying earlier, Libby, right? It just looking for those things that you can do differently, that you can make an impression, that you can stand out somehow. All right. So I love your website. I always have, Libby.
Oh, it's getting ready to change.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
What's it going to look like?
Well, you'll see when we roll out, we're having we're doing a whole rebrand. We're changing everything very, very soon. So for all of you guys that are listening, we will have a huge announcement coming up in the next week or two, and a whole rebrand and overhaul of many things.
Cool. And I'm guessing that has at least partially to do with that vivid vision.
Yes.
That you spent so much time working on. All right. Well, what are we looking at here? What do we have for our people who are listening and watching today? What do we have about WootRecruit?
I was like, what do we have? I was looking at my screen. It's tiny.
This is your just your website. Yeah. So I dropped your URL in chat. If anybody wants to know more about WootRecruit, wants to know more about how do you attract talent and select them, and some of the neat little, tricks and hacks that we talked about, you can help them with all that, right, Libby?
Absolutely. So what WootRecruit is, we want you to think of us as like an extension of your business, kind of like you're hiring a fractional recruiter, right? So you have customer service that's on your side. We have account managers that manage your Indeed account. We write your ad, we do your posting. And then we have the tool that creates the speed and efficiency behind it to make it super fast. So
it's a lot more than just downloading an app on your phone.
Oh yeah. Yes, we will be a part of your business. And then we have calls 4 times a week, teaching calls, 4 times a month. In that recruiting realm, when it comes to how do we interview, because what I've learned in this whole process is I could give you 100 applicants to your door, but you don't know how to interview them or pick them. And so we assigned our office manager to do it, and we didn't do a good job of training them how to do it. So we really focus on training you on how to do an interview efficiently. One of our account managers is Google certified. So we do Google certified organizing your office with Google inside our community as well. So we do a lot of teaching around the recruiting and culture part, like how can I attract them? How can I get them sticky? And thank you. And we love Renee too. But so we can help you in that way. And what WootRecruit does really too, we can decrease your ad spend. Typically it's about by 2/3. So if you're spending a lot of money on Indeed, we can decrease that ad spend. We can save your office about 10 to 12 hours a week in recruiting tasks, whether that's posting, vetting, scheduling interviews. So we can save you money there. And then we can also bring you a higher quality of applicant.
Wow.
Oh,
so this is kind of a no-brainer. The only cleaning business that wouldn't need this is the cleaning business that doesn't need to hire anyone.
Yeah. So
I don't know any of those cleaning businesses.
Yes. So, and in our rebrand, we're rolling out a bunch of stuff. I will post the date when we launch our rebrand. It will probably be in the next week or two. We'll have some updates to the product, what we do, and we're going to add some new features.
Oh,
And we're going to announce our new features.
that's very exciting.
It is top of the hour. Isn't it crazy how fast an hour goes?
It does always go crazy fast. Yeah.
Libby, thank you so very much for joining us. Interesting information. A lot of stuff to think about here. But the world's changing and we need to change with it. And there's technology out there that definitely needs to be a bigger part of, how we recruit, hire, and retain our people. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
One last thing too, you guys heard Libby say earlier, she said, we have so much data. So if you're out there scrambling around, don't know what to do, don't know the right way, go to the gal with the data. WootRecruit, they have a ton of data. Data is the way we always recommend making those big decisions, right? So go to where the data is.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go ahead and call it a take for today. We'll be back next Wednesday, 5 o'clock Eastern. Y'all have an awesome week. Thank you again, Libby.
You're welcome. Thank